twins are inseparable. That's a phrase we've all heard before and one we more or less agree with. But in the 1970s Britain, there are twins who take this phrase to the extreme. They are completely fixated on each other. So much so that the outside world sometimes feels like they are living like zombies. Due to their dependence on each other, the twins eventually find themselves in a spiral from which they see only one way out. One of them must die. Today, we're looking at the question of what lies behind their true fate, which has even been made into a horror movie. The Gibbons twins were born in England on April 11, 1963. Their parents are from Barbados and moved to Europe before the girls were born. However, the Gibbons family moved around a lot within England because their father served in the army. Even as toddlers, it was noticeable that June and Jennifer Gibbons were different from all the other children. They started speaking much later than usual and clearly had greater difficulty with it than others their age. Their unclear pronunciation made it difficult for others to understand June and Jennifer when they did speak. The children are shy and hardly ever speak, even to their parents. And when they do, even Mr. and Mrs. Gibbons have communication problems with their daughters. Instead of spoken words, they mostly use hand signals in early childhood. Whenever one of the sisters asks a question, June and Jennifer look at each other first, as if they were silently communicating what and how they want to answer. They even move in complete sync. The twins have no communication barrier between them. The two sisters understand everything they say to each other, whether they use hand signals or spoken language. The two girls are just 3 years old when they make a pact. They will no longer talk to anyone. The only exception is conversations between the twins themselves. It all starts as a harmless game, a bit of fun that June and Jennifer allow themselves in their early childhood. Perhaps out of defiance, because they constantly have to repeat everything they say in order to make themselves understood. But the fun turns serious, and the two girls stick to their pact. When June and Jennifer are 11 years old, the family moves from England to Wales. In their new home in Haverfordwest, the Gibbons are the only black family. At school, the twins don't stand out negatively at first. They are smart and polite, but also quiet. June and Jennifer don't talk to teachers or classmates. Soon, their classmates begin to make fun of the Gibbons twins and bully them. Not only because they don't talk to anyone. In the 1970s in Wales, June and Jennifer are the target of racist hostility on a daily basis. When they are not being harassed, the children ignore Jennifer and June. Not only do they isolate themselves, they are also isolated. This is something that is often forgotten in reports about the so-called silent twins. The teachers don't know what to do with June and Jennifer. Sometimes they are willing to communicate in writing or with a kind of speech computer, but most of the time they remain silent at school. The parents take their twin daughters to the doctor. They are desperate and simply don't know what else to do. The doctor completely misjudges the situation. Due to his fatal misjudgment of the situation, June and Jennifer Gibbons undergo surgery. The procedure is supposed to help them find their voices again, but it backfires. Physically, there is nothing wrong with the girls, at least until the surgery. Afterwards, June and Jennifer ironically do have physical problems with speaking, which makes their pronunciation even more unclear. Later, the twins are diagnosed with selective mutism, a psychological disorder of an emotional nature in which those affected only speak to certain people or in certain situations. Selective mutism often occurs in conjunction with anxiety or adjustment disorders. I will quote a definition from the Association for People with Mutism below to give you a clearer picture. And of course, you can also find the website and the references in the info box if you would like to read more about it. People with selective mutism experience every day that they cannot speak in certain situations, with certain people, or during certain activities, even though they want to. This is especially true in situations where speaking is expected. At kindergarten, at school, at the dentist, at sports clubs, at family celebrations, at the playground, at children's birthday parties, at restaurants, when someone greets you, when you want to say thank you or apologize. The list is endless. We are human beings, and it is innate in us to constantly engage in relationships and make contact with each other through speech in all situations. However, selective mutism makes this impossible. For a while, the only person the twins talk to is their little sister, Rosie. The three girls share a room. Therefore, it is inevitable for June and Jennifer that Rosie hears them when they talk to each other. At some point, however, Rosie gets a different room. And from that moment on, June and Jennifer no longer speak to her. They are now completely on their own. As children, June and Jennifer play with dolls for hours, creating an imaginary world with them. Everything they cannot experience in the real world due to their selective mutism, they live out in their imagination. In 1977, June Gibbons writes a letter to a teacher at school. In it, she reports, "It would be a good idea to separate us. I think one of us should leave and the other stay here. We act stupid when we're together. Some people think we don't want to be separated. But we do, because it would really be best for us." Jennifer agrees with her twin sister in another letter. She also writes the following lines in her diary. "Somewhere in the world, I must have a real twin. June can't be my real twin. My real twin was born at the same time as me. Has my star sign, my appearance, my dreams, my behavior, my ambitions. He or she will have my weaknesses, flaws, and opinions. All of that is what makes a twin. No differences. I can't stand differences. June doesn't have my memory or my appearance, not even my stature. When our mother measured us once, she said I was slightly taller than June. I wasn't exactly thrilled. Not only do the girls feel the need for absolute unity, but they also have a bitter rivalry. The school administration tells the twins that they have to decide which one of them should leave the school. But they cannot agree. The two argue every day. They still don't talk to anyone else, but the children yell at each other. June and Jennifer are so trapped in their own world that they can no longer get out. No one can get through to them anymore. Therapy, courses, encouragement, none of it helps. Although June and Jennifer want to have a normal life, they do not feel psychologically capable of breaking out of the behavioral patterns they have been trained to follow since infancy. After finishing school, June and Jennifer start writing. They write poems, short stories, novels, everything they can think of. They write about everything they themselves do not experience. Visits to friends, evenings at the disco, first love. In the spring of 1981, the twins turn 18. In the summer of that year, they decide to seek out two boys who have caught their attention. They are Americans, new to Wales, and they have a bad reputation, having often committed minor crimes. It is the first time in their lives that June and Jennifer approach someone. The world of the two boys seems promising and dangerous to them, and above all, a good template for further stories and novels they want to write. They think that if they want to continue writing, and especially if they want to be successful, then they finally have to experience something themselves. In the summer of 1981, the twins immerse themselves in a completely new world. They have sex, they take drugs, and they can even talk to the two Americans. But this also increases the conflicts between the sisters. In her diary, Jennifer writes that she tried to kill June. "I'm not ashamed to say that I tried to kill my sister. Things got out of hand. I didn't manage to strangle her with the radio antenna. I'm sure she wanted to kill me too. I have the unshakable feeling that she wanted to. In fact, June pushes Jennifer off a bridge, but Jennifer survives the fall. The conflict between the twins reaches ever greater proportions. And spurred on by their acquaintance with the two boys, June and Jennifer repeatedly commit crimes. At first only together with them, later also on their own. The twins steal, break into buildings, and set fires. They write all of this down in their diaries. They are well aware that these records could be used as evidence against them. The Gibbons sisters are practically waiting for the police to catch them. And eventually, that's what happens. The two allow themselves to be arrested without resistance and admit to all the crimes they are accused of without hesitation. At their trial, the twins are found guilty of 16 counts of burglary, theft, and arson. In 1982, in response to the verdict, the authorities take a drastic step that many still consider completely disproportionate today. June and Jennifer are sent to Broadmoor Hospital, and the twins will not leave the facility for 11 years. Broadmoor Hospital is not a normal hospital. It is described as a high-security psychiatric hospital. It is home to serial killers, terrorists, and assassins. And since 1982, June and Jennifer Gibbons. The twins are portrayed in the media as mentally disturbed and a danger to the public. As the social welfare system reached its limits with the twins, the justice system took over, and it decided to lock June and Jennifer away indefinitely. At Broadmoor, it is suspected that the twins are suffering from schizophrenia. They are therefore prescribed neuroleptics and antipsychotic drugs. In the course of their therapy, June and Jennifer finally begin to talk after a little more than 2 years under the influence of the medication. But even after that, they are not allowed to leave Broadmoor. The twins keep in touch with their parents through letters. Mr. and Mrs. Gibbons visit them as often as they can. The parents are as helpless as ever, but their 2 daughters do not blame them for this. Journalist Marjorie Wallace also begins to visit June and Jennifer regularly. Over time, her visits become more frequent, and eventually it becomes a tradition for her to come by every Sunday. She becomes a confidant for June and Jennifer. They tell her their story, which Marjorie Wallace writes down in her book, The Silent Twins. The two say they feel like Siamese twins, except that they are not physically inseparable, but psychologically. And if they were real Siamese twins, they would beg the doctors to separate them. June calls Jennifer the dark sister who steals her sunlight. They remain in Broadmoor for 11 years, in a closed prison among serial killers and other serious criminals. It is not until 1993 that there is finally a glimmer of hope. The two are to be transferred to a new clinic in Wales, where they spent most of their youth. The conditions there are more relaxed than in Broadmoor, and so a new phase of life will begin for the Gibbons sisters. That is why the twins make a new pact with each other. Before they leave Broadmoor, one of them must die. June and Jennifer Gibbons know they are at an impasse. They are now 29 years old, and when they are released from Broadmoor, they will sooner or later have to face the real world. They cannot continue living together like this. June and Jennifer believe that the presence of the other would prevent them from living their lives. A career, a circle of friends, perhaps marriage or children. They believe that they are too attached to each other to have all of that while the other sister is still alive. That they would always pursue each other and possess each other to some extent, no matter how far apart they were physically. For the twins, it is quite logical that one of them must die so that the other can live properly. The two even agree together who should go first. June is a little more outgoing than her sister and gets along with other people a little better. It had been that way since childhood. So the two decide that Jennifer must die before they are released from Broadmoor. During one of her last visits, Journalist Marjorie Wallace sits across from the twins as usual. Jennifer leans over to her and whispers, "I'm going to die. We've made our decision." On March 9th, 1993, the time has come. June and Jennifer Gibbons leave Broadmoor Hospital after more than 11 years. But just 10 minutes after their release, something happens that, from a medical point of view, cannot be fully explained to this day. Jennifer Gibbons collapses. She's immediately admitted to a hospital and treated, but she dies that same evening. A sudden acute inflammation of the heart muscle. To this day, no one knows what caused this heart muscle inflammation. The twins had undergone thorough checkups the week before their release. Their EKGs were normal. The only symptoms Jennifer had shortly before her sudden death were headaches and vomiting. The doctors treating her attributed this to the excitement of moving to Wales. And even the autopsy of Jennifer's body did not reveal the cause of the heart muscle inflammation, and certainly not the sudden and fatal course of events. The coroner in charge says that such a course of events is usually the result of a viral infection in young adult men who collapsed and died during strenuous physical activity. None of this applies to Jennifer. No traces of medication, alcohol, or other drugs were found in her blood. But one thing is certain: Jennifer Gibbons fulfilled her part of the pact. June Gibbons is deeply saddened by the death of her twin sister Jennifer, but as she herself says, she's also relieved. June goes to the new clinic alone, where she does well, talks, makes progress, socializes, and in 1994 she's released on parole. After her release, June Gibbons gives a few interviews, but she lives a largely secluded life in Wales. She still has a good relationship with her little sister Rosie and her parents. She was offered the opportunity to give readings and organize exhibitions, but she turned it all down. Despite her potential, she never became a writer. She never married or started a family. Instead, she lives alone and inconspicuously. She no longer requires psychiatric treatment. In 2022, the case is back in the media because the story of the Gibbons twins is being made into a film. The film, The Silent Twins, is even shown at the Cannes Film Festival. One of the two leading roles is played by Letitia Wright, whom you may know from Black Panther or the Avengers films. June Gibbons personally approved the film script before production and gave it the green light. The sisters were often portrayed in the media as creepy, eerie, and disturbing. However, the film takes a different perspective. It sees the two as artists. This is a perspective that June Gibbons clearly agrees with. All too often, reports about the Gibbons twins forget to mention the era in which they grew up. It is obvious that June and Jennifer had a problem, but far too rarely is there any mention of the impact that dealing with this situation had on their later lives. For example, that the two were excluded by their classmates, that there was never any competent educational support for them, and that they were eventually locked up in a high-security prison. I'm sure you'll have lots of thoughts about the sisters' lives, and I'm really looking forward to reading your impressions. Are you familiar with the movie The Silent Twins, which is based on the story of the Gibbons twins? Feel free to write me in the comments, and let me know if it's any good. I haven't seen it yet. Let me know how you liked today's video. It was a little less true crime and a little more mystery. Would you like to see more videos like this? Feel free to leave a like and subscribe. Every interaction helps the channel because it means the video will be suggested to people who haven't subscribed to Insolito yet. I wish you a good morning, afternoon, or evening, depending on when you're watching the video, and I hope to see you again in the next video. Thank you for watching. Bye, everyone.